Good morning, good afternoon, good night, whenever you are watching. Welcome to Mentor Mornings, my friends, where I share wisdom from people far wiser than myself to help you own your day and fuel your journey. Are we connected? First of all, that back there that we can see, that smoke that has settled in from all the fires that are happening on the West Coast, it's heavy. So, are we connected? I remember the first time that I heard the idea of a universal consciousness, of an oversoul of sorts. And as a child, when I first heard that, it scared me. Because at that point in time, I recognized myself as an individual. I still do. An individual, as something that was separate from everybody and that I had value because of that. And so when I heard the idea that there was an oversoul, there was something that connected all of us like that, it frightened me because suddenly I perceived that if that was true, my value was less than. That my value was removed because I was part of something greater, and suddenly my individuality didn't matter anymore. Marcus Aurelius pondered on this. He says, and Marcus Aurelius was an emperor from the 1st century, very powerful emperor, thought to be one of the last great emperors that ruled with moral authority, that was there for good. So he said, if thought is something we share, then so is reason. What makes us reasoned beings? If so, then the reason that tells us what to do and what not to do is also shared. And if so, we share a common law, and thus are fellow citizens, and fellow citizens of something. And in that case, our state must be the world. And it's the thought that we are borderless, that we are one people, that we are united by something common that gives us thought and reasoning. What other entity could all of humanity belong to? And from it, from this state that we all share, come thought and reason and law. Where else could they come from? The earth that composes me derives from earth, the water from some other element, the air from its own source, the heat and fire from theirs, since nothing comes from nothing or returns to it. So thought must derive from somewhere else as well. If Marcus's musings hold value, then we could say that our thought and our reasoning all drinks from the same pool. Marcus was pulling these thoughts away from something that, from natural observation. Yet today we're seeing evidence that this is correct, that this is true. There's a man by the name of Ben Lammel, and he worked as a cardiologist for over 20 years. And he noticed this phenomenon that happened over and over again, and it was so powerful that he published it in the Lancet journal. And that was that over and over again, people who had been declared clinically dead remembered with clarity events that had happened while they were clinically dead, with clarity. And he saw it so often that, like I said, he published that paper. And Ben Lammel goes on to say, the mind seems to contain everything at once in a timeless and placeless interconnectedness. The information is not encoded in a medium, but is stored non-locally as wave functions in non-local space. Which also means that all information is always and everywhere immediately available. And this is something that he pulled away from observation after observation of a phenomenon that many of us find it difficult to wrap our minds around. Nikola Tesla also believed that there was this source of information that existed around us, a field of information, a universal field that we could all tap into to garner any information that we needed in order to create or live, whatever the purpose. Some people call it the Akashic Records. And when we look at the evidence, more evidence that has started to surface as humanity has evolved and started to keep track of this, we can look at the 100th monkey effect from 1952, when there was an island of monkeys that suddenly took on this certain behavior. And on other islands, totally unconnected to the original island, those monkeys began taking on those same behaviors. And what is pulled away from this study, or this realization from observation, is that that when a certain amount of the population accepts or adopts a behavior, a thought, or a belief, that suddenly when a certain amount of that population does, it will automatically transfer to the rest of that species, or that connection to that field of awareness that we're talking about. The Heart Math Institute has shown that group meditation with a focused intent creates massive amount of change inside of the world around them, depending on how many people are sitting with focused intent. They've also shown that there's a field of awareness, or an electromagnetic field that radiates from each one of us, and it's scientifically measurable. We can see this field of this electromagnetic field that emanates from each one of us affects the people that we interact with. So how we are feeling, our mood, our thoughts, our belief, you could think of it kind of like how people talk about an aura, impacts the people around us. And we are all, from this, we are all connected. If we share thoughts, if I can share these thoughts with you and they transfer into your mind to where you consider them, you play with them and you let them go, or maybe you keep a couple, that's the transfer of thought. And so the transfer of reason, the transfer of awareness, the transfer of intelligence, of knowledge that's around us. So when Marcus was alive, he realized this through only natural observation, but today we see evidence of it. And there's this proverb that says, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. And so acting today as a renegade, as somebody going against the system by yourself, you can create radical and different thoughts that may be accurate or may not be. But together as a whole, moving as a herd, with single intent, that is where focus change happens. Ourselves create a ripple. Together we create waves upon waves of positive change, or negative, depending on the thought around it. So today, what can we do? We can build, we can support, we can encourage each other to keep going in the face of hardship and fear. And to recognize that fear is there, recognize that danger is there, we listen to fear, and then we squash it with action. We can squash fear with action. Fear loves complacency. So, you guys, today was really about the power that we have when we connect, the power that we have together. And that when we look out in the world today and we see the massive amounts of negative media that's being pummeled, we're being pummeled with over and over again, the actions of a few bad people, that together, if we focus on the positive outcome, on this positive place that we can go, we can get there. Rise unconquered, my friends. If you appreciate this video, please hit that thumbs up. I will see you tomorrow on Mentor Mornings.